All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Still the Press, coming to you live from the Abuja studios of KAFTAN Television. And just like I promised, we've been joined by a guest. His name is Aguile. He is a policy analyst and also an energy expert. Together, we shall be taking a look at some of the headlines I read out to you earlier. And this is also a soft reminder that our phone lines are now open for you to call and join the conversation. And just like I said earlier, if you do call us, please remember to turn down the volume of your TV set so that I can hear you better, and you can also get to hear us better. Thank you, Nick, for joining us on the program.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Sandra. And good morning, Nigerians.
It's amazing to have you join us here today, taking into consideration the kind of headlines that we have on our national day list today. So you're an energy expert. Today, let's begin with energy. NLC kinks against electricity tariff hike, says planned hike insensitive and callous. So we've heard stories about a proposed electricity tariff hike that's supposed to be increased by like 40% come July 1st. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think it's necessary? Do you think it's called for? Because everybody keeps giving reasons why one or two things should have a change in price in the country right now. Is either they are equating to dollar or the hike in fuel price. So what are your thoughts on this? Do you really think it's worth increasing electricity for? Because does dollar affect it? Does it have anything to do with fuel?
Thank you very much. I think it's uncalled for because Nigerians are facing a lot right now. Like you rightly said, we've experienced almost a 200% price increase in petrol, and petrol affects a lot of us. If it's not transportation, it's cost of food items in the market, cost of fuel in our generators and all of that. So Nigerians are struggling with that. And then dollar, let me say unification of the market. I don't want to use the word devaluation. The unification of the market means imports are going to be more expensive now, and that is again going to hit Nigerians. And so to bring this electricity tariff and hoist it on Nigerians again is just too much. I think the current government should understand that even though Nigerians are showing a lot of elasticity now in terms of absorbing all these things, it will get to a point where people will take it and will not be able to take it anymore. And once people are not able to take it anymore, who knows what will happen next? You understand? And now let me speak from a technical perspective about this electricity tariff. It's actually very shameful, that we're having this conversation about this tariff increase, because the unit cost of electricity is determined by two metrics. There's the total cost of providing that electricity, which is the numerator. Then there is the quantity of electricity that is being weighed out to Nigerians, which is on the denominator. Now, the numerator has consistently been rising, while the denominator, which is the quantity of electricity, has remained 3,000 megawatts. So if today it is 2/1, the ratio is 2. If it becomes 4/1, the ratio is 4. If it's 6/1, it is 6. That's why the ratio will be going up. But assuming it was 2/1 today, which is 2, tomorrow is 2/2, it will become 1 because the denominator has increased. Now, what is the rising cost? The rising cost is coming from, let me give you an example. We used to have a single NEPA for the whole Nigeria, one NEPA, okay? And that one NEPA had a managing director, had a set of executive directors, and all of that. Then the government went on a privatization drive, where we now have more than 10 generating companies with 10 different managing directors, 10 different sets of executives, 10 different sets of offices, and all that, okay? Transmission company has not changed. But then we now have several discos. I think we have like 9 discos, if not more, all over the country. That means each disco, a managing director, a set of executive directors, a set of offices. So Nigeria has succeeded in increasing the top of the equation the numerator, the COS, is going up. But all these generating companies, transmission and distribution companies
are still generating that 3,000 megawatts.
And Nigerians are now being made to pay for this. Because as the costs are rising and the denominator remains the same, that means the unit cost of electricity is now getting higher and higher.
Because somebody has to pay the board members, somebody has to pay the
for all the companies that are now in this sector. And you will hear what the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, which is the regulator, you hear them talking about cost-reflective tariffs. Cost-reflective tariffs means they are now increasing the tariffs for these companies to recover their cost. But they are recovering cost that is not increasing the denominator. Do you understand?
Yes.
And the reason why the denominator is not increasing is also very simple. There are 3 tiers in the electricity value chain. You have the generation, then the transmission, and then the distribution. So generation is where you have all the turbines, all the machines, like a Kanji hydro and all of that. That's generation. And then when you see all those big high tension wires, those are transmission that are taking the electricity from where it's generated to where it will be used. And then distribution is when you now have the electricity going from distributed to house within a city like Abuja, where we are now. Now, these 3 tiers of electricity value chain, generation was privatized, and I would say a bit rightly, because it was sold to real business people like the Otedolas, the Tony Elumelus, and all of that. These are Nigerians with real capital that they can put into that generation and expand the capacity. The problem, which I believe that the current government needs to look into very urgently, is transmission.
Okay.
Transmission was not privatized. So the transmission company of Nigeria is still a government-owned company. And you know that Nigerian government does not have money. Nigerian government is living on borrowing. A government that is borrowing to pay salaries, where would they see money to expand the transmission network? So the GENCOs are actually frustrated because they cannot increase capacity, because any capacity they increase, transmission has to carry it. And if transmission cannot carry it, then they can't increase that capacity. In fact, some of the system collapses that we have had in the past is generation trying to push in a bit more into transmission. The transmission will just collapse. So that bottleneck of transmission has to be removed. Government must, of urgency, privatize transmission.
But you also, earlier, you made mention of the effect of what distribution, privatization of the distribution.
I will come to distribution.
Okay.
I'll come to distribution. I just want to unbundle transmission first, which is the first problem that is causing these 3,000 megawatts not to increase.
Yes.
That transmission, a bottleneck. The government must privatize it immediately. I mean, as we speak, President Tinubu needs to say, open this transmission bid. Let global power operators come in with their money, with their expertise, with their technology, so that they will increase. As they are increasing that transmission capacity, the Otedolas and the Elumelus will be increasing the generation capacity because they now have a wheel that can carry that electricity forward. So that is number one. Number 2 is distribution. The privatization of distribution was a complete sham. All the distribution companies were sold to politically exposed persons.
Okay.
These people, you know, they lost out during the telecoms transmission privatization, and they thought they would cash in on the distribution, on the electricity one. They don't have the expertise, they don't have the money, they don't have the technology to expand the distribution network.
So what you're trying to say is they should have privatized transmission rather than distribution.
They should have privatized both transmission and distribution. But they didn't privatize transmission, which I'm saying they must do now. Distribution was privatized to people who are not power sector players.
Okay.
So that is something the government has to deal with. And there are 2 ways the government can deal with this. If the government believes that those who have already bought these licenses at distribution should still be in the game, then the government has to force them to sign technical partnerships with global power operators who will then come in and do the job. It's something that is happening in the oil industry. There are Nigerians that collect an oil block license. They know nothing, they have no money, but what do? They now enter into a technical partnership with one of the global oil companies who then come in and do the work. And they share the profits. Do you understand? That is one way government can do it, to say you must now sign technical partnerships with the CMS of this world, with the Manitoba of this world, so that they can come in and actually do distribution right. Or the government should just simply revoke the whole sham process that led to this award of licenses and re-award it in a very comprehensive and transparent manner, so that it will attract global capital to come into Nigeria and work this distribution out for us. You see, the difference between the privatization of the telecoms and privatization of distribution is simply that the MTNs, the Airtels, the Etisalat were already telecom companies operating elsewhere. They had the expertise, they had the money. They could draw on their capital from the other places they were operating. That's why they were able to come in quickly and start making Nigerians talk on phones. Tell me one company that was awarded the license in distribution that was operating in the power sector elsewhere before they got that license. Not one of them. Not one. And so that whole process is what is pinning us down with 3,000 megawatts. So simple. What do? Generation is okay. The guys are there. They are ready with their money to go in. Transmission is a clear bottleneck. Government should debottleneck it. And then distribution has to be done again. You see, the distribution companies right now, if you tell them, what is your problem? They say, oh, people are not paying us bills. They are taking power. They are not. Do you know that problem is not those who are paying? The problem is the distribution companies. You know why? No. Elsewhere, these wires you see up and down like this, distributing electricity in Nigeria, they are not up. They are down. Deep down in the ground. Do you understand? In that place, then nobody can steal your electricity. And if you want to cut off electricity supply to a customer who is not paying, you don't even need to bring a pole and be climbing and no. In your office where you are sitting as a distribution company, you switch off their light. Do you understand? So they are therefore forced to pay for your electricity. Do you understand? And the distribution company now don't have the money to take the wires from where they are hanging up, making our cities look dirty, and bury them underground. It's their problem. If they had the money, if this distribution was given to the CMS of this world, I can assure you, they will bring the money and bury all the cables underground. And once you bury the cables down, nobody's going to steal your electricity again.
All right. You also made a mention of how privatization of the distribution has actually affected the price of the electricity tariff earlier. So now saying that the transmission needs to be privatized, don't you also think that that's also going to add to the already existing problem?
Okay, so privatization added to the cost of supplying electricity to Nigerians. But because the privatization was not done right, the denominator has remained 3,000 megawatts.
Okay.
If the privatization was done right, and as we are speaking today, the denominator is 30,000 megawatts, then the unit cost would have drastically fallen. So the real problem is the fact that the denominator has not risen. So if government deals with the transmission bottleneck and deals with the distribution sham of a privatization, the denominator will not start rising. You know, if you expand transmission capacity now to 20,000 megawatts, then Tony Elumelus will push in 15,000 megawatts through that thing. So the denominator is already rising. And as the denominator is rising, the unit cost will now start coming down.
Oh, okay. That's very important. So what I'm not asking is, so at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with dollar. It has nothing to do with fuel.
Yeah.
So that means NLC is right for kicking against the 40% increase at this time because it's not called for.
Yes, they are right. Well, let's not say in a blanket way that it has nothing to do with dollar. It could also have something to do with dollar because if you are going to import machinery, if you are going to import any parts, if you've got any foreign employees on your payroll, now that dollar is 700, I think even touch 800 in the I&E window, your costs are going to increase. There's no doubt. But the quantum of the increase of the cost, given the dollar rate of exchange now, shouldn't be what should result in this kind of tariff increase that Nigerians are now being forced to swallow.
Okay.
So the important thing is that if the denominator is rising, then even if there is some additional cost from forex, you will still be able to sell electricity. And let me tell you one thing. I live in the UK. And I can say, as a matter of fact, that the electricity tariffs that Nigerians are paying now is more than what we are paying in the UK. I even have the data. I forgot. I should have done so. I should have downloaded my own electricity bill in the UK and shown it to Nigerians on live TV so that they can see it. Do you understand?
Yes.
And remember, what we are paying in the UK is electricity 247, 10, 20 years on without a blink. Then compared to the tariffs that Nigerians are being forced to pay now for like 3 hours, 4 hours of electricity per day.
In some areas, it's not even up to that.
No, exactly. And then and that is when you are not forced to buy a transformer. Sometimes you are the one who buys the transformer for them to use it to bill you. Do you understand? And that is to say minimum wage in Nigeria is 30,000 naira, of which millions of Nigerians are not even earning it. There are a lot of these people working in restaurants, and some of these people are earning 10,000 naira, 20,000. Minimum wage in the UK is £1,200. That's over 1 million. So the person whose minimum wage is over £1 million naira is paying less for electricity than a person whose minimum wage is 30,000. Nigerians are just being suffered because of the inefficiencies.
We
in
have
the sector.
a caller on the line.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we lost that call. That person has been calling, and I didn't want you to lose your thoughts, so that is why I delayed in taking that call.
I can always hold my thoughts.
So it's a lot, because we have a lot to talk about. I'm sorry, I have to take this call.
Yes.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Yes, we can hear you.
Hello, good morning. This is Mr. Alaba calling from Sokoto.
Good morning, Mr. Alaba. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. No, Sandra, good morning, and our analyst.
Good morning.
You are doing a very good job. Most of the terminology you are using here is peculiar to those who are in the energy sector. We don't understand what you are saying. All we know how to say is that Nigeria, I don't understand the kind of leadership we have in this country. We have been paying for darkness all this while. So again, I don't know why this country, we don't have sympathy on the masses. Is it because those guys are not using light or what? They are not paying for light or what? I don't understand. Me personally, I have been paying for darkness for a very long time. And you're asking me to come and you want to increase. Did they want this country to be on fire before they know the right thing to do? People are suffering. Why are we like this? We just want to increase anything. We just want to do anything anyhow. If care is not taken, this country will go to a state of anarchy. People are tired of this kind of rubbish people that we are having in leadership. Also, so our money in the we are still alive now. They should go and collect the money from them to fix all of these problems.
All right.
Why should the masses be paying for what they didn't spend, what they didn't buy?
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Alaba.
We should go after those things and collect our money from them.
All right.
God bless Nigeria.
Thank you so much. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Yes, good morning.
Beautiful morning to you, Sandra.
Good morning, SMD. How are you doing?
Beautiful morning. You are on to SMD from Lagos.
Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nick, and then Sandra and the entire crew of the KAFTAN TV. Thank you very much for giving us this ample opportunity to see our minds. Let me quickly respond to the issue of this hike, electricity hike. Remember, just of recent, Mr. President.
Oh, I think we lost that call there. Please do call us back because I want to hear what you have to say. I always do want to hear what you have to say, SMD. So still on this issue of electricity, like our first caller said, he said you've been using terminologies of people in the energy sector that he hardly understands what you've been saying. So I don't know if you can rephrase some of the things that you said in a layman's term so that some of the viewers who cannot understand what you're saying can actually get the message you're trying to pass.
Okay, I actually thought I was using everyday terminology as far as the electricity sector is concerned, but and again, I'm not too sure which of the terminologies that is it the one who says generation, transmission.
No, I think generation and transmission is easily understandable. Yeah. Maybe we should try the denominator and nominator.
Oh, so the denominator is just the simple maths we do in school. I mean, right from primary school, once you begin to do equations, you know, which is called fractions. Yes. Once you begin to do fractions, that's what I'm trying to talk about. And basically what I'm trying to talk about is that the value of an equation. So when you say A over B is equal to C, that C is the value of that fraction. The A over B is the fraction. So that C is the value. And I'm saying the value is dependent on what is on A and B. Yeah. If what is on B, which is at the bottom, is increasing, this value will be falling.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
So if you have 2 on top and 1 below, the value is 2. If you now have 2 below, this value becomes 1. You know, if you have 4 below, the value becomes 0.5. You understand what I mean? So the quantity of electricity that is being supplied is the one that is at the bottom. While the cost is the one that is on top. And the cost has been rising from several sources. That bottom has remained 3,000 megawatts. And that is why the value of this equation has been rising. And as the value of the equation is rising, NEC, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, comes in and say, we now have to have a cost-reflective tariff. And that cost-reflective tariff means they want to bill Nigerians to recover the full cost that is rising. And that NEC is not talking about why that bottom is still 3,000 megawatts. If we increase that bottom to 6,000 megawatts at the current cost, it will be half the cost.
All right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, and you can hear you. Yes.
SMD is back.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I believe you can hear me now.
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you very much. Like I said, Mr. Nick, thank you very much once again. You see, Sandra, we are facing challenges when it comes to energy in this country. Just of recent, before the previous administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, there is an issue of Siemens contract between the federal government and the Siemens company, which they gave it name presidential initiative. I don't know, something presidential initiatives. I cannot remember. Almost about $21 billion. I don't know, you know, nothing to say about it. My worry now, if we really want to get things right, there are certain things we must do whether we like it or not. Thank God Mr. President signing the Electricity Bill 2023 up. The question is, are we going to look at the Section 80 of that act, which he talks about is entirely consumer components? And if we are looking at it, the NEC and the GINCOS and the DISCOS and so on and so forth, are they complying by the rules of that? Is there any awareness between them and the consumers when it comes to the consumer protection right? So these are the main issues. And my worry is we only focus about management, managing the agencies. What about the technical aspect of it? What about the technical aspect? Look at now, Mr. Nick was giving you the statistic of how to generate the 3,000 watts and so on and so forth. So what I'm trying to say, of course, really, we need to reboot our industry, but we cannot do that with solar energy. Because solar energy can only give you maybe 25% of what you want. The conventional energy has to look into, because this is what is going to give you. That is the hydro. It's going to give you almost about 95%.
All right.
So the issue is we should not only look at the managing aspect. We should look at the technical aspect of it, so that at least we know that something good is going to happen to our country, especially when it comes to
We lost him again.
And so on and so forth. But there were certain challenges of life. You understand? This unestimated billing and so on and so forth.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, SMD from Lagos.
Thank you so much, SMD. It's a pleasure always to have you join us on the program. All right. I was asking when I said, does it have anything to do with dollar? And you said, when in case you have foreigners who work for you and all of that. Yeah. So in this issue of dollar, let's now talk about the dollar. Recently, the president, let me just put it, the central bank decided to float the dollar. I don't know if you can walk us through what this actually means. And today we're having reports that dollar has been clashing, and yesterday it said it's made a tiny gain, and today we're saying that it has clashed again to about 765 naira to $1. So at the end of the day, what do we hope to achieve by this floating of the dollar?
Thank you very much. Before I come to the dollar, there is a last thought I want to make on the electricity.
Okay.
You know, I told you that the distribution companies are always giving reasons as to why they are not making money, part of which is that people are not paying. And I said, it's their problem. If they invest money and bury the cables, as is done elsewhere, nobody will steal their electricity again. Do you know another advantage of burying the cables? Our cities look neater. You see, when they snap a picture in Oibo land, you don't see overhead electricity cables. You see how fine the houses look. But the electricity cables themselves are an eyesore. But there's another very important one. And that one is that, do you know when it's raining? Once it's beginning to rain, small breeze, your electricity goes. You know the reason why? The cable is up. And once the cable dangles in a way, the transformer switches off. If the thing was on the net, then it will not affect your electricity again. All the elements, whether it is rain, it is breeze, or cars jamming onto electric pole, or thieves coming to steal something from a transformer, all will no longer be there again. So let the distribution companies invest money so that they can give Nigerians better electricity. Because you know, when the cable dangles and the light switches off, that means people are no longer going to be paying. Like those who are on metered this thing. And that is when they complain that we're not making enough money, we're not recovering the cost. It's their problem. Let them solve it.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So coming to dollar, what used to happen in dollar in Nigeria was that, in fact, let me start with an analogy so that, you know, since our viewers want to understand this thing at the basic level instead of the technical terms. What used to happen was that, you know, Wuse Market here in Abuja. Everybody can walk into Wuse Market and buy Gari. Everybody. Now, Nigerian government created another market to sell Gari in Metama. Okay. But that market, it was not everybody who could go there. They had a group of people who could go there. But do you know the problem? Nigeria was selling Gari in that market at 400 naira a mudu. You understand? While in Wuse Market, it was 750 naira. You understand? So the privileged people who had access to that Metama market will just go to Metama Market, pay 400 and something, collect Gari, just carry it to Wuse Market and sell it in the open market and make 300 naira plus per mudu of Gari without lifting a finger. That was what was happening in the forest market. Nigeria created two markets for foreign exchange. There was a so-called official market that was created and resident at the CBN, but only available to some privileged people. Then there was the open market that you see at Sheraton Hotel and everywhere that everybody could access. The prices of the same dollar between this market in the Buhari government rose to over 300 naira difference, which is called the arbitrage.
Yes.
And the only thing that needed for people to make humongous money off Nigerians was a privileged person. You are sitting down, you just see on your phone an alert, oh, you've been awarded $2 million from the official market. Immediately he sees the alert, $2 million. He's on the phone to Malam. Malam, what's the rate today? What's the rate? He says 750. Okay, wow, do that. He haggles the rate. is 700 and something. The Malam will drop 700 and something times 2 million. That's like 1.4 billion or 1.5 billion into his account. While he only dropped 800 million for CBN to give him the $2 million. And without anything, this man has made like 700 million by doing nothing. This is what was happening up to this government came into office. And we're speaking about this thing, we're saying, look, if Nigeria is aspiring to join the ranks of the developed world, which developed nation is running 2 markets for foreign exchange? Which developed nation? Not one. Not one. So this market was a criminal enterprise that, do you know where the dollars that were being sold in this CBN market were coming from? They were coming from crude oil sales. When they sell our crude oil, instead of using that crude oil money to build schools, build hospitals, build roads for us, they will go and put it in the CBN, who will now sell it to some privileged people at 400 and something, who will simply take those dollars into the what was called the parallel market and sell it at 700 and something. What has happened is that President Tinubu simply said it's not going to be one market. There's going to be one wholesale market for everybody to go to. The high and low of our society, whatever your dollar need, you need to go to one market. And what happened immediately was that immediately he said with one market, the prices in that central bank market, which they call the importers and exporters window, the I&E window, rose to equate the prices in the wholesale market, which is the Malam market. And so that's the market we, in fact, at the time, the price in the I&E window rose above even the Malam. It went to 815, while the Malam market was still 700 and something.
So quickly before we run out of time, what are the implications and what do we hope to achieve from this?
So the implications are that those who were having access to the official market and were genuinely using the dollars they got there to go and import are going to experience a price hike, because now they no longer have access to 400 naira dollar. They have access to 700 naira dollar. So their prices are going to rise. But do you know one thing? It is better for the prices to rise, because if you look at most of the things that are being imported in Nigeria, we have the local supply of it.
So there are things that we don't actually need.
We have the local supply of it. So if the price of the imported one now is too high, people will now begin to look inwards to the local. Do you know some of the things that we're importing that will have very good versions of it in Nigeria? Education. Why you can talk about the private, I mean the public universities being rotten now, too much strikes and all of that. There are very good private universities in Nigeria, but Nigerians are refusing to go to this private, and they're going to Sudan for university education. So if now they are going to buy dollar at 700 and something, and the school fees become too expensive for them, then let them look at Bangkok, let them look at American University, let them look at the other universities we have in Nigeria. The same thing with medical, the same thing with holidays. Oh, you're taking $400 to go to Disneyland. If it's not 700, you cannot go. You will start thinking about Budukatu Ranch. And
then you support tourism here in Nigeria.
That means you are not growing Nigerian economy. Because it was unthinkable that CBN will be taking our dollars and giving people to go and spend abroad instead of CBN trying for Nigerian economy to grow.
All right.
You understand?
I really wish we could continue this. I think we'll have to have another phase of this conversation.
Specifically on this one, yes.
Because we have a lot to talk about, and but then we ran out of time. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And that was our conversation with Nick Aguile. I'm very sure you're enjoying this conversation. We still have a lot to talk about, but it's not going to be today. We hope to see him here some other time to continue this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on The Press. Till I come your way next week, I still remain Sandra Aguile. Bye for now.